We ready? Hey there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Tim McCormick from Cultured Biologix is here. He's going to talk. You're going to listen. It's going to be great. Booyah. Thanks, Bob.
Oh, stop it. That's not nice, sir.
How you doing, guys? Some of you see me, some of you haven't. It's good to see all of you. We were originally going to do our product launch on the 1st, but you guys are here the 2nd, and we're doing another batch on the 10th, so we said what better way to launch than with you guys. So we're going to do our kind of product launch next week. So I'm going to go over some things that we've been working on, some of the things inside the literature. We're going to kind of go in depth. Mainly it's not necessarily about the products, it's about what's in the products, about the microbes. We all use some form of microorganisms, so we're pretty much just going to touch on some background of me, our company, going to go through an overview of the microbes themselves, and kind of going to dig right into like the microbes and our products. So my name is Tim. I am the president of Cultured Biologix. About a year ago, Johnny Duncan and I founded Cultured Biologix based on a company that wanted to establish just that, a culture in the products, a culture in the plant, a culture in our whole industry itself. So originally, I have a background in chemistry. I went to school for pharmaceuticals, realized that the pharmaceuticals are the pharmaceutical market, and I quickly realized that the medicine is actually in the food we eat, the agriculture itself, how we grow the food, what we incorporate into the soil, what we inhale, what we eat. It all comes a part of ourselves. We are what we eat. So I quickly got out of pharmaceuticals, got into agriculture, and then about 2012 rolled around, I took a summer job at a hotel, then got moved right out to Colorado to help open up Supreme Growers. My partners and I did that for about 4 years, got it from a local brand to a national brand, now they're carried by Hydrofarm. So we just wanted to branch off and kind of do our own thing. So that's kind of like the backstory behind the whole company, is we wanted to establish a culture with our customers, a culture with what we do. We're all a part of this together, so we all should act like that, kind of the mentality we have. So that being said, we've come out with some new research, some new development, and we decided to bring some products to market. Our mission was really, really simple. I'm a gardener for 7 years. People have been growing for longer than 7 years. People have been growing for under 7 years. Our mission was to bring the best products at the most affordable price to back a company that is for the growers by the growers. So it's becoming more of it's becoming important for everybody to kind of stick together inside this industry, because people are being sold out. People are going, your money is being spent for places that we probably don't want it spent. So it's important to put your money where you want it to go and support the people you want to support with your dollars, vote with your dollars pretty much. And so with that being said, we wanted to make sure this market had a company where they can make sure their dollars are going to a company that is for the environment, that is for the stewardship of this earth itself. Much like Nectar, much like SLF, much like all the other guys that are associated with Nectar and the brand and the culture here. So we kind of just wanted to join in that and give everybody something to believe in. Give them, whether you're a 4-plant closet grower, whether you're doing a 6-acre commercial farm, we wanted that farmer, those people that have, oh, I know those culture guys, I can call them right up. It gives people more of a homey feel, and who want you guys to feel like you guys are at home when you guys use our products. So that being said, our mission statement was simple: give someone something that we all can believe in and share, and use that mentality moving forward with our grows. But enough of that. We're going to kind of, I call it the culture science. We have a way to kind of conduct ourselves as far as our formulations go. We wanted a different approach to microbial products. So what we are real simple. Cultured Biologix is a microbial fertilizer company. We want a different angle to microorganisms. So a lot of times you buy inoculants out there and you have the microorganisms, but they have nothing to them. There's no substrate to them. There's nothing nutritional to them. You put the microbes in the soil, and the microbes break everything inside the soil down, but the water you're putting in there has no phosphorus, it has no nitrogen, it has no calcium to it, so it's just a blank inoculant. And that's good and everything, except when you're trying to maintain the metabolism of the plant. With Nectar especially, you build the metabolism from square one all up to square 1,000. So Well, if you're feeding and your plants are craving or eating, and you're taking your slurries and they're just draining your soil, all their parts per million from the chaos, from just the digestion of the microbes themselves, you can't have that space with no food. The plant will go deficient, especially if you're hammering in the BK at 10 or 15 mils a gallon. I've nuked an entire 10,000 square foot plot with BK because I didn't understand what I was doing. So it takes into consideration that we need to put more inside the soil than just the organisms. There's a mentality that we need to have, and our science is adding the microbes, but also making sure we have the nutritive substrates in there, make sure we have the nutrition inside the substrate itself, the platform that the microbes live on, so we can aid plant growth, we can aid the hunger of the plant as we give them their own source of the microorganisms. So we took the microorganisms, paired it with a substrate that stimulates plant growth. So what we did differently though is we did 4 things differently. The first thing is aerated compost teas versus instant teas. All of our teas that we have right here are instant inoculants. They are meant for putting them in water, putting them through a doser system, or putting them through irrigation lines and getting it out. You can mix them with fertilizers, you can mix them with whatever. It takes this really, really complicated thing of microbiology and taking it to a 2-second approach. You don't need to steep worm castings or compost inside of the water, wait 24 hours, then put it out. You can put it into a bucket and dump it out. So the first thing difference with cultures is that aerated compost teas you can do them, you don't need to. The second part is you can use our teas along with the aerated compost teas to kind of boost, because the substrate inside of our teas are prebiotics for the plant itself, for the microbes themselves. They consume the substrate and they grow into larger colonies. So you can spice your compost teas that you brew with our teas to activate them. It's a compost activator. And so our main approach is microbial fertilizers. So you're going to see a lot of different forms of fertilizers from us, but based on microbes, based on the microorganisms that do all the motivation, do all the function inside the soil itself. So prebiotics, probiotics, symbiotics, immobilization, mineralization, all these are terms that everybody kind of should know, but we have a very, the whole industry's been illegal for the past however many years, so the information's not there. So one of the things I really wanted to get into before we get into the products is the terminology between these things. Prebiotics, what are prebiotics? It's these compounds, these food sources, are ingredients inside of our products that feed the microbes themselves. Anything that feeds a microbe is a prebiotic. Then you have probiotics. Probiotics are the beneficial microorganisms themselves. So what happens when we put prebiotics with probiotics? There's a term out there called synbiotics, S-Y-N biotics. And our products are you can sum our products up as synbiotics. They incorporate the prebiotics to grow the microorganisms, along with adding the probiotics, the microorganisms themselves. And along with that, you get plant growth promoting compounds from the microbes themselves. And the microbes there's 2 real different, everybody needs to understand the difference between fungi and bacteria. Fungi has a different approach to a bacterial approach. And we add different prebiotics to the soil or to your teas to stimulate fungal growth or to stimulate bacterial growth. Bacteria is the main driver within your soil. You have populations of bacterial increasing, decreasing, and you want this ebb and flow inside your soil, because you don't just put bacteria in there and they munch stuff down and all of a sudden you have nutrition. What you actually have is a bacteria that consumes all the nutrition around itself. Then that bacteria dies. You want bacterial die-off. When that bacteria dies, then it releases the nutrients to your plants. Fungi are completely different. Fungi, you want to start from a small plant, get that mycorrhizal network on there, and aid that growth and have it grow throughout the entire life cycle of the plant. So what the biggest things I see is that people don't understand the difference between bacteria, immobilization, and mineralization, which is just the bacteria consuming the organic matter, then dying and releasing it. That's immobilization, holding it inside itself, and then mineralization is the bacteria dying and releasing it to the plant. So just moving forward with any type of teas or any type of inoculants that you want to really focus on, make sure that you're adding them constantly, because it's the grow and the death, and the grow and the death is how the bacteria nourish and condition the soil itself to feed the plants. The next thing is is fungi. It's saprophytic and symbiotic fungi. Symbiotic is mycorrhizae. It makes a living relationship within the plant itself. It makes a connection to the plant, grows with the plant. Saprophytic is your trichoderma. And it's not really talked about. There's some studies out there. It just depends on where you're looking and who you're talking to. But a university in Canada, Ontario, Canada, did a study in 2012 that showed adding trichoderma to masses of mycorrhizae inoculations actually produces metabolites that impact the mycorrhizal colony. The trichoderma prevents mycorrhizae from attaching itself to the roots, and the trichoderma actually prevents the solubility of phosphorus. So, which also is mycofiltration and mycodelivery. So, we are gearing our teas specific to not incorporating trichoderma, and I suggest looking at labels and making sure your tea you're putting into isn't going to impact the plant, the mycorrhizal colony itself. Trichoderma is naturally found on ants. It's found on detrivores. It's found in rotting wood. It's found on top of the soil. It's not ingrained into the soil itself, into the root system. So all these trichoderma-based inoculants are just tearing up your mycorrhizal colony. You just spent a month, 2 months, 3 months building a mycorrhizal colony. Now you're just dumping loads and loads of trichoderma on there every week. Who knows what's going to happen? We're not microbiologists, so it's just good having this knowledge going into the season and going into our farming of knowing what we're putting in and how it works together, because it's all a network. It all works together. So symbiotic and saprophytic. Symbiotic is mycorrhizae, saprophytic is decomposing. So trichoderma, saprophytic, symbiotic. We want to tend to the symbiotic. We don't want to tend to the saprophytic. They don't work in combination with one another. So just moving forward, make sure your teas have the proper bacterium and not the improper fungi to go into your soil. Next is plant growth promoting rhizobacteria. It's just bacteria that we put inside the soil that promotes plant growth. And for some reason, I'm no microbiologist. I went to chemistry, I know how this works with biochemical reactions and plant physiology. But these bacteria, we have been realizing, releases compounds that grow roots. It releases compounds that ward away other fungi, other bad bacteria. It produces compounds that plants can use for cellular development. And so we incorporate saprophytic fungi, we do not incorporate saprophytic fungi, we incorporate mycorrhizae into our products, and we incorporate plant growth promoting bacteria into our products. And that's the whole basis of our products of that. So you have, again, your probiotics. I want to get into more of the substrate. We don't manufacture these probiotics, we buy them from manufacturers, but what we do manufacture, we manufacture the substrate itself. And the substrate is where all the magic happens. That's what feeds the bacteria, so you get the population of bacteria to grow real quick inside your reservoir. We give you things that trigger and promote and enhance plant growth. And those compounds are all plant-based. Everything inside our products are not mineral-based. We use very, very, very little minerals. The minerals we do use is a little bit of zinc. We use very, very little, and we use a little bit of magnesium. And that's just to help the rounding of the immunity system of the plant itself. We mainly use plant-based amino acids. We use plant-based silica. There's no silicates in our products. It is strictly bamboo and rice hull-based silica. It is not amino acids derived from some poorly dissolved soybean. All of our amino acids come over from Spain, and they're derived from organic non-GMO soybeans. We have to import them, and then we can use them to be in our products. But soybeans, we have found, have the largest chain of nitrogen in any plant-based form of amino acids. And this is great for stimulating plant growth in veg. It's great for building immunity systems. You can reduce all of your nitrate load with protein nitrogen. And that's one of our biggest things we're trying to promote forward is protein-based nitrogen. Don't use nitrates. Don't use ureic. Don't use ammoniacal nitrogen. They volatilize. They cause harm to your microbial herd inside your soil, and they kill roots. We can replace almost all of our nitrogen use by either plant-based protein nitrogen or animal-based protein nitrogen. Scott and Nectar have all of the protein animal-based products you could ever imagine. So we want to incorporate the plant side of it and how they can go together along with the animal-based products. So again, our amino acids are derived from soybeans. Our amino acids are derived from aloe vera. Our amino acids are derived from some freshwater algae. And so moving forward, just understand that all of the nitrogen you see in our products are all plant-based. There is no form of nitrates in there. And that's probably the most important part of the growth rates that you see is the ability for the amino acids to convert into proteins inside the plant. And the proteins are what the plant drive energy and drives metabolism in the plant. So you put more amino acids in your root system, you put amino acids in the plant, you get faster growth rates because the plants can use those amino acids as food, as source of energy. We have been fortunate enough to work with some very, very key people. The humates and the fulvics in our products are from Dr. Faust Biobag, for Dr. Faust from Faust Biobag. We figured that there's a lot of really, really bad ways to make humic acid. Those are really, really bad ways to make seaweed. And we want to make sure we have a way that isn't going to destroy your microbial host. So we went out and we found the best humic source in the market, Faust. We went out and found one of the best seaweed sources up in Maine. It's washed, there's no salinity to it, and it's digested with low heat, and it's digested with very, very, very little potassium. It's the final product is 001, so what we use inside our product is zilch potassium. And that's the biggest thing that we found is finding seaweed and humics that do not have a large load of potassium. The potassium is what's antagonizing all the calcium in this nutrient line. Potassium needs one ion to get into the plant. Calcium needs two, and they're the same positive charged ions. So what do you think the plant's going to prefer? The 2 charge or the 1 charge? Because it's easier for the potassium 1 charge to get into the plant than it is for the calcium to get its 2 charges to get into the plant. So that's why it antagonizes calcium, because the plant preferentiates the potassium over the calcium. So if you're having lockout issues, if you're having a bad calcium uptake issue, always, if you're having a magnesium issue, for first and foremost, always check your ppm with your potassium load, because potassium will lock out your magnesium and it'll lock out your calcium. So that's why we made sure that we don't have our bloom tea is a 102. It's a blooming product with 2% potassium. Everybody in this industry is, I need potassium and PK. I need PK. I need phosphorus. I need potassium. Let's shove it in there more. And it's the wrong mentality to have. So we really, really wanted to get to the whole natural extraction methods. One of the new things we were bringing to market is a new form of, so seaweed is a form of algae. And all of this, from like the slimy algae on the rock to the giant weeds in the sea, are all just forms of algae, whether simple or complex. We're taking single-celled algae, having it lab-grown, and using that as a form of our biological compounds inside of our plants. So you're not just getting the stimulation from the seaweed. You're getting stimulation from algae extracts also, single-celled algae extracts. And a lot of these algae itself have the same growth-promoting compounds as seaweed. It's just you don't have any of the salinity from the seaweed, and you still have the ability to stimulate plant growth. So we're bringing a new type of algae into the market that no one's using right now in agriculture for its biological properties and for what's contained inside this algae. So the composition of our products are different. We're not using the same ingredients as everybody else. It's different. It's just from the rudimentary level, it's different. We're just using different inputs than everybody else. So then that being said, the last but not least part of our product is our trace minerals. Trace elements are extremely heavy metals. It's hard for a plant to take in iron. It's hard for the plant to take in zinc, and that's why you have EDTA iron, you have DPTA iron, you have EDDHA iron, you have all these different forms of synthetically chelated, which is just synthetically available for the plant. We just wrap it up in a salt molecule, and the plant can recognize some of the carbon and some of the salts, and so they take in the iron. We found, I shouldn't say we work with people who have found a way to take these trace elements and wrap them up in a humic complex. And this humic complex, it's called a colloidal mineral. It wraps it up and makes it in a carbon form, so the microbes will go after the metal and start eating the carbon on the outside of the trace metal, and getting to the trace metal, then digesting it for the plant and excreting a bioavailable form of it. So our trace minerals isn't just like, we're not putting zinc sulfate, we're not just putting in tons of manganese sulfate. It's all wrapped up inside of a carbon molecule. And that's what we really want to get to, is providing, yes, trace minerals helping and grow plants, but it's better if the microbes can also, if they can grow the microbes too. So our whole process of this is giving you different ingredients and different compounds to have a probiotic and a prebiotic product. Dr. Root, right now I'm going to get into the products themselves, what you'll be able to find at OCG. Dr. Root itself is it's our alternative to your Clonex. It's all alternative to your KLN. It's the alternative to all these synthetic rooting products out there. Why don't we have a natural rooting product out there? And actually, first, can anyone tell me a natural rooting product?
Aloe.
Aloe, right? Plant extracts. That's all you got. There isn't a product out there on the market that is natural. If anything,
Yeah, you can use willows.
right? You can use willow water also. You take willow. Nick and I were just talking about that yesterday, but there's nothing available that people who don't have time to have their own aloe to break it apart, to grind it up and blend it for the farms. What options do they have? They don't have an option. They have KLN. They have Clonex, and that's okay and everything, but it's synthetic. And naphthalene acetic acid, indole-3-butyric acid, they're all just synthetic rooting hormones. So why not take the microorganisms that release plant growth compounds that grow roots? Why not give them precursors for the bacteria to digest and to excrete rooting hormones? Bacteria can naturally do this, why aren't we doing it? So we chose two bacteria. We choose Bacillus subtilis and we choose Azospirillum gracilis. They both have pathways to create indole acetic acid. And that's a big, long sentence just to say these bacteria eat amino acids and poop out rooting hormones, simply put. So that's what we're incorporating. We're just giving the bacteria the food that they're going to eat to transfer into the rooting hormones. So this is our alternative to the synthetic rooting products. It's a natural microbial rooting aid. We use mycorrhizae. We use two forms of bacteria that grow roots. We use aloe vera extracts. I actually found a form of cryo-freezed aloe vera, so everything's preserved. All the salicylic acid, all the amino acids, all the phytohormones inside the plant is all preserved inside this process. So we added aloe vera powder, 200 times extract aloe vera powder to our products as a natural rooting product.
Now, is that all your products or just the Dr. Root?
So the aloe is just in the Dr. Root, but it's also in the trigger. It's in two of our products. So I call it, we'll get to trigger, but I call it trigger specifically because there's aloe in it. And everybody knows before we spray aloe or do things with aloe, add a little amino acids and calcium to it, magic happens. So and we have it in two of our products. One for rooting, one for promoting growth. So that's the first product that we'll probably have available to you guys, the Dr. Root. Again, it's going to be here the 10th. When we're doing our kind of product launch, so feel free to grab some. We'll have samples and whatnot. Then we have two teas. One's a veg tea, one's a bloom tea. We want to customize things for plant growth. That's my job, that's what I do best, I customize things. So when I'm tailoring a tea to the plant, I want it to grow roots. I want it to grow foliage. I want it to grow stems and really strong branches. So we incorporated plant-based silicon into it. We incorporated amino acids. We incorporated one of our main parts of our substrate is cottonseed meal. We take the embryo of the cottonseed, break it apart and grind it up into a protein powder. And it's 53% protein. Bacteria love proteins. Protein's the #1 source for bacterial food. We have every tea has at least 30% protein in it, 30 to 50% protein. And when I talk about food sources for bacteria, what are the best food sources? You have sugar, right? Molasses. We all use molasses in our teas, right? That's a carb source for them. But it's a complex chain. It takes a long time for them to decompose it. So what's a quick food source for them? They love peptide bonds. Peptide bonds are just bonds that hold amino acids together. It holds proteins together. So if you give microorganisms, bacteria, if you give them proteins, they can break that bond that holds the protein together super quick. So if we have 30 to 50% protein inside our substrate, you're giving them half of the product you're giving them is a meal for them. And so they're allowed to grow and use that as food source. They're allowed to break that apart, and in turn, it gives your plants amino acids. So part of our main substrate inside of our teas is cottonseed meal for the protein content. Again, please feel free, if anybody has any questions, I should have said this at the beginning, I'm sorry. If anybody have any questions, please feel free to ask and chime in.
Drink of water.
Go
right ahead.
You've been talking a lot, Tim.
There's so much to go over. I'm here for 10 days though, so if you guys are around the neighborhood and want to stop in, I'll be here at OCG probably the next couple couple days or two. Then I'm going to California, but I'll be back next week. So I'll be around. So if any of you guys, I'm on the groups. If any of you guys want to come hang out and come talk some more, there's just so much to get over, and I just only have an hour. So you know.
You can go longer than an hour. They're not going to get mad at you.
I don't want to make you mad.
2 hours.
I'm dead serious. Other people
You
go
get
like
2
an hour and a
drinks of
half.
water on that one.
I got time, guys. So that being said, that's our substrate. We tailor it to the vegetative growth, so we put precursors in there for root growth. We put proteins in there for bacterial growth, and then we also put a spectrum of nutrition for the plant to take in, specifically amino acids and trace elements. But what I want you guys to do with these teas is use the bone meal with them. There's specific bacteria in these teas that are going to go nuts over bone meal. There's a couple different specific bacteria. So the reason why I made these teas so bare, it's a 401 for a veg tea and a 102. The reason why there's no phosphorus is because HERC is your phosphorus source. Your bone meal is your phosphorus source. So anybody use guanos inside your teas, that's your phosphorus source. Use it with it. It's meant to be used. These are nutritive teas. They will stimulate plant growth, but they're mainly for the bacteria to consume all the other inputs you're using as it is. You guys know Paulie on the group. He never has a tea without HERC in it. He puts Gaia in most of his teas. I started doing that, and that HERC base, if you can build a foundation of HERC for the plant, holy cow, that plant is so healthy. That plant is ready to kick its metabolism into that next gear. So like all these teas are meant for you to add your HERC. So when you're making your reservoir of tea, you can either add it to your teas, your brewed teas, or if you want to use it alone, add your HERC, pH it, add the teas. And you'll have a killer, you'll add a little bit in veg and a lot in bloom, and you'll have a killer tea blend that helps to keep flowering, keep pushing and going, and help build that base of a healthy plant from veg into late veg, into early flower, into late flower. So the last one is Trigger. Trigger is our plant growth promoter. It's our growth and bloom activator. It is comprised of mainly organic non-GMO soybean amino acids. It has about 6% calcium. We do a cool thing with the calcium where we take it, we dissolve calcium carbonate. We take calcium carbonate, we dissolve it inside amino acids. The amino acids actually chelate the calcium into a bioavailable form. So when you spray it on your plant or you put it in your root zone, the plant takes it up immediately. There's no wait, there's no, hang on a second, let's let this unravel. There's none of that. It's all 100% bioavailable calcium. So the Trigger itself is a calcium source. It's a high nitrogen source, and it has aloe vera in it to help boost the immune system, boost your growth rates, but also get that salicylic acid in there and get all the good compounds from aloe on the plant all the time. It triggers growth. It triggers in veg. It triggers in flower. So what I like to do is I like to root drench the Trigger in veg, and then right before flowers start spraying the crap out of your plants. And you'll see them laterally start to grow outwards and start to fill in and start to bush out. And then as soon as that stretch happens, the entire mass of the plant just goes. You don't get that top over dominant, so that column stack. You get a nice spread of your secondaries and tertiary branching with the Trigger also. So that's the whole nuts and bolts. But like I said, we're a microbial company. So what I really want you guys to understand is the bacteria inside these products. Everybody knows Bacillus subtilis. It's just a general bacteria. We use Bacillus licheniformis. It decomposes proteins. It decomposes bird feathers. So use it with your feather meal. Use it with your peg potion. Oh, by the way, if you spread this Trigger with that peg potion, you'll have one hell of a vegetative growth product mixture itself. A lot of times in our products, we put bacterium in there in specific increments. So you guys ever notice that like all these inoculants have the same bacterium, whether it's root dip, it has the same amount of bacteria. The Photo Plus has the same amount of bacteria. There's no different ratios of different bacteria for different things. We tuned our substrate to the different growth stages of the plant. We tuned our bacterium, the complex of bacteria you get per stage of growth rate. So the veg tea, you get bacterium specific that are needed to make the compounds for vegetative growth. Like we put a lot of feathered licheniformis. It decomposes feather meal high in nitrogen. So we put lots of that inside our veg tea. There's a bacteria in there called Bacillus cereus. Cereus is found in manures. It's good for iguanas. We put that in our bloom tea. We put higher concentrations inside our bloom tea, so people who use the guano teas can have a bacterium at a high rate that's specific to phosphorus solubility. In our veg tea, we don't use a lot of Bacillus megaterium. In our bloom tea, we use a lot of Bacillus megaterium. Bacillus megaterium is noted for its ability to solubilize phosphorus. So, don't put that in veg tea, that doesn't do much for you. I mean, you put it in the bloom tea when the plant's craving all the phosphorus. We also have a very special type of bacteria that's not really found right now in any of these products. It's, brace yourself, Bacillus mucilaginosus. It's a really, really long word for just to say a bacteria decomposes silicon. It's a silicon solubilizing bacteria. You ask why nectar doesn't have any silicon sources. It's because your soil is loaded with silica. Your rock dust you put in there, the azomite, the basalt, all those things, the kaolinite, all those things are loaded with, are silicon based. And the only thing you're missing is the bacteria that are meant to decompose that silicon to make it available for the plant. The earth is 80% silicon based. There's 30% silicon in the earth itself. So how come the plant can't just take up a whole bunch of silicon? Yes, sir.
Slacker question.
Yep.
How do the two teas play together? Like the bacteria, and do some kill the other ones?
No, everything plays real nice with each other.
Okay.
The main thing is that in our veg tea, we increase the amount of licheniformis for the feather meal decomposition. We increase the subtilis, and we increase the mucilaginosus, which is just for silicon solubilizing. In the bloom tea, they have the same spectrum of bacteria. We just increased it and decreased it based on certain intervals for different things.
Okay, so they're all basically, but some are more in one or the other.
Exactly. We want, like for example, we don't want to put a lot of Bacillus megaterium, which decomposes phosphorus. We don't want to put a ton of that inside the soil, right? Or inside veg growth. You'll need a lot of phosphorus for veg growth.
But is there a negative effect other than that?
It's just almost redundant. It's wasting your dollars.
That's why the other companies have the exact same amounts, like he was saying earlier, but they fine-tuned it to an optimal level per stage of plant growth. So literally, he's not wasting his products, putting it into all those bacillus strains and bacteria in his products. That'd be wasting his money, really. You're wasting your time on the product you don't need.
Yeah.
So that's why he's saying it's at an optimal level.
My goal is to make this the most affordable and effective products for you. I don't want you using another 100 million units of phosphorus solubilizing bacteria that you don't need to use. That's going to cost you an extra $1 inside the product.
Well, my goal is to grow the bacteria.
Exactly. And so, all of our goals is to grow bacteria.
I can't afford to buy the products.
You know, and that was the other thing. A lot of these inoculants are expensive.
But I love them.
Our job was to bring an affordable product to market, affordable inoculant, because they're so expensive.
No,
My God. So,
I'm sure it's a reasonable price.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure many people in this room will be able to afford that, but I am completely out of this business
you know what I found?
It's only for me.
Everybody has kind of a different way to do things. What works for you to go do something isn't what works for me in my setup.
Exactly.
So like, I can't go brew tea. I can't go just steep kashi inside of a bucket and do a kashi tea. I need something ready to go now.
Exactly.
I need something commercially ready to go. So it's not
Well,
going to be for everybody.
You're going to sell truckloads of this in the state. Don't even worry about
Even
it.
if we
I already know a bunch of
Even
people
if we
that
do,
want
we
truckloads of what you have.
but here's the thing, I don't want to sell to everybody. If it doesn't work for you, I don't want you to buy it.
No, it'll
I
work.
don't want you to.
I want to grow it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not for your style. You have different style, right? Just like the KNF guys, the Korean natural farming guys, they have totally different style. If they don't want to use it, you're like, no, I take my banana peels and I take whole bananas and banana flowers and I steep that inside like brown sugar and I let that ferment. That's my bacteria. I go, cool, man, that's awesome. I want to do that too. Like,
No, I want to take your teas, grow the bacteria, and keep growing them.
you can do that too. Absolutely.
know.
Spores are spores.
No, I know.
So
I'm excited.
by all means.
I'm excited. Everything you
do.
said just warms my heart.
I give you a moment to see it. Dude, that's awesome. I love that type of stuff.
I'm all about what you're doing.
DIYs and people taking it and doing it themselves, I freaking love that stuff. Like, it's just how ingenuitive. That's how we did it back in our ancestors, you know? So, but I guess full circling it, that's they're not gonna interfere with each other. They all grow with each other. My manufacturers, when I called them to ask, hey, I need to buy, this bacteria, this bacterium, this bacteria, they have thousands of bacteriums. I'm like, I need this, and this. They're okay, well, what are you doing with it? And I tell them, they're like, okay, we're just trying to figure out if it's gonna compete with each other. And so they help me out, and they're like, no, these are going to compete with each other. But what I really wanted to do is give it specific intervals for specific things. That's my main.
It makes tons of sense.
My main goal, because I just see all these broad spectrum like shotgun approaches, where it's like, let's just throw the kitchen sink at it, and then you're stuck buying things that don't solubilize phosphorus. They don't convert nitrogen into a form of atmospheric nitrogen to good nitrogen. They don't solubilize potassium, silicon. It's food for another bacteria, or it's meant to be in perennials or used in like landscape or some other weird stuff like that. Having a mycorrhizae product that has ectomycorrhizae doesn't do anything for our plant. It's a soft tissue plant. You want endomycorrhizae. Ectomycorrhizae is for a hard root system. So if you buy a product with ectomycorrhizae and expecting you're going to get good culturing on an endomycorrhizae plant, you're wasting your money. And that's the whole thing. Why are we wasting our money? Why aren't we being effective with our money? Why are we doing these redundant things? So if you don't need it, I'm not going to put it in there. So really what it comes down to is making sure that we just, like I said with the trichoderma thing, making sure we understand as a culture, as a community, of what to put in our ground and what not to put into our ground. If you're making a compost pile and it has no mycorrhizae in that compost pile, put trichoderma in there. Blast it. It is great at decomposing cellulose materials. Like the ripped jeans that they used to be real big back in like the early 2000s. Like all they did was take those jeans and they soak them in a vat of trichoderma. Trichoderma harzianum. I shit you not. Like that's all they did was they just soaked it inside trichoderma, and the trichoderma releases cellulase, which is an enzyme to break down cellulose, which is like denim. And that's how you get the scratches on it. And they take it, they make it look all pretty, and they ship it out. That's how they sold it. So it's trichoderma decomposing everything, right? So if you have a compost pile, put trichoderma in there. There's no mycorrhizae roots, but as soon as you take that compost, blend it into the soil, don't start dumping trichoderma on there. You're wasting your money. And so that's the biggest thing, is making sure, that's why I came out here and talk to you guys, is making sure we understand as a community what bacteria is, what saprophytic fungi is, what symbiotic fungi is, what's a prebiotic, what's a probiotic. All that's important for us to be better gardeners. And so moving into this, what we wanted to do is making sure that we just tend to our microbial herds properly. And that being said, with all I've said about bacterium and whatnot, there's a couple things just to keep in mind that are real simple, cut and dry. Bacterium are kind of like an orchestra, and you're the conductor. You're gonna have really loud music, you're gonna have really soft music, you're gonna have points where like certain instruments are doing certain things. So your job as brewing teas into incorporating bacteria inside your soil is for you to be the conductor. You want them to grow, consume everything, and then you want them to die so your plant can absorb all of that. And you want to add it again. And you want to be the person making sure you don't have large spikes of bacteria and then no bacteria. And then large spikes. You want that nice even flow of like, it grows, it diminishes, it grows, it diminishes. And that's how we want to culture the bacterium. So when you're putting inoculants down on the ground this year, just remember that we really want to go with the mentality of constant, moderate amounts constantly. The best way to manage your bacteria inside your soil that you can take from this is not large spikes, it's moderate amounts of bacteria constantly. And if we do that, you will find that you have better growth rates inside your root zone for like microorganisms. You'll find better root growth, you'll find better plant growth. It's those tons and absences that really cause problems. And when you have absences, those pathogens can slip in real quick. And we want to avoid that. We want to make sure we're protected the entire time. So that's bacteria. Now when you go to the fungi world, you want to be tending to it. You want to be nourishing it. You want to be the mother for your sons. You want to be the father to your daughters. You want to nourish that mycorrhizae colony from a very, very small plant the whole way through. So you don't want to do things that destroys the colony on the root system. So everything you do, everything you put into your soil needs to be conscious of what it's going to do to mycorrhizae. And I say that because out of all of these bacterial products, nothing solubilizes phosphorus like fungi. They are the phosphorus solubilizers in the world, not bacteria. You have all these products that are specific to phosphorus solubilizing, and even bacteria, Megatherium and mucilaginous, both decompose phosphorus. But in the world, in the ecosystem, the microbial ecosystem, in the microbial world, the main source of decomposing and transporting phosphorus into the plant is mycorrhizae and fungi. So in veg, we want to really focus on hitting the bacteria really, really hard. In bloom, we still want that constant bacteria inoculation, but you want that mycorrhizae colony to be so developed in your root system that whenever you put more bone meal or they access the bone meal in your soil, they decompose it and your plants take it up immediately from the mycorrhizae itself. So just remember, moving down the road, like when you get into late flower and moderate to late flower, your mycorrhizae is the one transporting all this phosphorus and breaking it down. It's not the phosphorus solubilizing bacteria. Very, very little do they actually solubilize. So make sure we tend, in flower especially, we have the mycorrhizae colony already tended to, and moving forward, it will be your main workhorse inside the soil. That is my main approach to the line itself, making sure we get a strong mycorrhizal inoculant on the plant, making sure you have good bacteriums, make the good bacteria to go into your soil at a moderate rate, but consistently with not only microbial growth promoting items in here, but also plant growth promoting items. We want to stimulate plant growth too. And so just these packets will be inside nectar kits soon. So all the people that will be getting our nectar kits, they will have these packets in there to kind of give them, along with SLF, to kind of give them an introduction and make sure they're having no trichoderma in their teas, making sure they're having a good mycorrhizae product, a good, sort of a consortia of bacteria. And so what I mainly want to do moving forward is make sure if you guys have any questions about inoculants, microorganisms, not everybody needs to know all the technicalities to it, but reach out in the group. I know a lot of us do. I know a lot of us really work together with each other, but we really need to pass this information forward to everybody. We need to develop a culture out of it, of us, like we do in the nectar community, but we need to make a culture out of making sure that you see your homie buy something with trichoderma, tell them about trichoderma and how that impacts mycorrhizae. Just like Dr. Amaranthus came up here and said, you want to take that first few days and the first few weeks inside that plant's life to get it accustomed to that mycorrhizal colony. You want to tend to it. So don't be blasting nutrients on your plant for the first 2 or 3 weeks when you're trying to establish mycorrhizae on the plant. It's those things that can all make us a better gardener. And by taking all this information that we're giving each other, we can really start improving each other's gardens and make a really big culture out of it. So that's pretty much all I have for the products themselves. What I do want to do an announcement real quick. The 10th is our product launch. We are going to be here at OCG. Feel free to come on out. We'll have samples for you. We'll have product ready to go. It's going to be a huge celebration, so let's come on out. Come say hi to us. Let's all hang out. And that's our biggest thing is making sure we all can come together as a singular culture and moving forward with everything. So we just launched our website also. So check out www.culturedbiologix.com. We literally just did it yesterday. So you guys will be the first people to take a look at it online. And we did this for you guys. We came here and we did it for the Nectar group, so you guys could we can launch with you guys and grow with you guys. That's really what we find ourselves. We find ourselves ingrained with you guys and having you guys be a really big community backing for us to be a part of, but also us to help because that's fun. And it's really cool. So that's all I pretty much got. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask and let me know. But other than that, I think we have a raffle.
Oh, we got a raffle, yep.
We have a raffle.
Sure do. Yep.
Good job, Tim.
So we just got one prize. You got your choice of either a gallon of Herc or a sample kit. Y'all got your tickets?
No, I didn't get it.
You didn't get a ticket? Hold on a second. Hold on.
Give me 2, they're small.
I think you're gonna put this in there. All right, here we go. What? Oh my God.
Bob doesn't get paid back, she just does this for free.
Makes sense, he has a lot of fun.
Oh, you use bucket.
Hey, I won't deny another.
All right. Here we go. Gallon of Merc. Or a sample kit. 3158.
Hey, that's me.
Whoa! Which one you want?
I want the sample.
You want the sample kit? Let's give away the Herc too. He's loaded. He'll be fine. All right, here we go.
My Mercedes.
3165.
In the back anyway, as soon as we leave.
3165? Yoo-hoo!
On the bone,
All right, that's it.
Well, that was